Call this meeting to order. There are no announcements or public hearings. So the first on the agenda tonight is a town administrator, not really an appointment, but acknowledgement. If you wanted to start there, Evan.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge the retirement of Vinny Drago from our sewer department. His last day will be August 2nd. And he has been with the town of Grafton for 38 years.
And he is very happy.
Yeah. So, but congratulations to him. All best of luck in the future, and just an amazing amount of service to the town of Grafton. So, thank you.
Thank you. And then the first item on the agenda is setting of a special town meeting. So do we need to talk about it, or just take a motion to set the town meeting? Because we all know it's to purchase the Robinson property.
The only thing I would like to mention is that, there's always the possibility that the landowner says, oh no, I can wait till October. No worries. And then you could come back and say, well, then we won't hold the special. So I think because of the timing of everything, we still have to do this process. Because we don't know what the landowner is going to say at this point. So okay. We have reached out through their counsel, but we don't have an answer yet. So that just wanted to make that point.
Okay, great. So if there's no other discussion, I can take a motion.
Sure. Madam Chair, I move the board vote to set a special town meeting for August 29th, 2022 at 7 p.m.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Andy?
Jefferson, aye.
Ray?
Mead, aye.
Anne-Marie?
Foley, aye.
Roy, aye. Declare the motion carried. Next up is opening of that special town meeting warrant.
Sure. I move the board vote to open a warrant for the August 29, 2022 special town meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Andy?
Jefferson, aye.
Ray?
Mead, aye.
Anne-Marie?
Foley, aye.
Roy, aye. Declare the motion carried. And now I'm going to just take one thing out of order. I'm going to do the request for the CPA grant because it just all ties in together. So the chair of CPC reached out asking that the select board send a letter requesting CPA funding for this purchase. In addition to that letter, they also mentioned that a baseline report is required for each of these parcels. Baseline reports can cost around $2,500 per parcel, and that they are willing to fund that as well. So if we can just take a motion to send the request for funding along to them. I know they're meeting this week.
Sure. Madam Chair, I move the board vote to send a letter to the Community Preservation Committee requesting a CPA grant to purchase the properties at 173 and 183 Upton Street.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Andy?
Jefferson, aye.
Ray?
Mead, aye.
Anne-Marie?
Aye.
And Roy, aye. Declare the motion carried. Okay, so now we'll go right into the ARPA committee recommendations. Evan, if you'd like to take that.
Yep. I'm just going to do a brief PowerPoint. It's only like, Will, can you let me share, please?
Yep.
It should be pretty brief. It's similar to last time, but without all of the
You should be good to go, Buff.
mathematical errors. All right. Okay, everyone should be able to see that at this point. Great. So we met again last night at 5 o'clock. We did it all via Zoom. It was a quick meeting. We had just adjusted some of the dollars. So I just want to acknowledge the people that were part of this endeavor. I could spell Peter's name correctly, apparently. We're off to a great start here. But Perter Carlson apparently was the original chair. Laura filled that role after Peter left the board. Anne Marie's been the select board representative. Myself and Dr. Cummings, Mary Loria, Paul Canoyer, and Heather McHugh from Finance Department, Finance Committee. So how did we get to this? We solicited a project list from the department heads. That was our first step, just to see what was out there. We gave the committee insight into the current state of project funding in Grafton. We then did some public outreach. We held 2 public input sessions, one virtual and one live at the Grafton Public Library. We put out a community input survey, and we collected over 700 responses. It was really great public feedback, which was awesome. And then we collated all that feedback into something that we thought was representative of what people had said that they wanted, and also things that we were looking to fund without adding to the tax burden of Grafton. So if you look at the new chart here, what we did was it's the same list, it's just got different number amounts. So the joint water project, and I'll go into what these are in a second, remained at $500,000. We reduced the paving project up here for Council on Aging and the town office building to $475,000. Grafton Food Bank, we left at $50,000. We changed the skate park to skate park design because it is eligible for other funding sources. South Grafton Community House, we reduced to $75,000 because it also has other funding sources attached to it. PD and fire radio system, we're coming at that a little bit differently, so we knocked that down to $250,000. I do believe we're going to have a $100,000 earmark from the legislature coming that'll help offset some of the radio issues in fire. The rec pan and pickleball stayed at $100,000. Economic development, which I met with Chris yesterday, he's working on his plan there, remained at $100,000, and we were able to keep the sidewalks at $750,000, which leaves us a balance, quote unquote, of $194,258. The committee does plan to meet again next month to discuss a mental health program that we're trying to get our arms around, and we would use remaining dollars for something like that. Well, that's what we would recommend to you. Let me put it that way. So I know you've all been following along. I just want to make sure people at home understand what we're doing here. The water main project is a joint project between Grafton, Tufts, and the Grafton Water District. It's 2 parts. One is the water main replacement on Westboro Road. That should help with fire flow at the Tufts campus as well as water quality. It's a dead end up there, so they have water quality issues on a pretty consistent basis. The second would be to extend water down Willard Road. So that gives people on Willard Road access to public drinking water, but it also creates a loop so that we don't have that stagnant water issue. Municipal Center parking lot, we've been talking about this off and on. I know the select board members, a couple of them have met with the seniors and heard some of those concerns, and we're really looking to make this a more accessible building for people to come in and out of. The food bank, I did work with the food bank board and utilize their feedback to come up with the funding amount. It seems to me in all those conversations that they're going to take that money and park it and use it as needs come up. Their needs kind of ebb and flow since they are connected to other food banks. Sometimes they're flush and sometimes they're not. They also sporadically have capital needs that I think would be addressed again out of having this kitty put to the side. Skate park, we talked about design, specification, and bid docs, and then probably looking for CPC or capital money depending on how that played out. South Grafton Community House, we've talked about this ad nauseum. So this is exterior repair and renovation money. PD and fire radio system. So the radio system is extremely expensive. We are in the process of getting a consultant right now to go through that. But this money would be utilized for the kind of more emergent needs, to keep the system stable while we pursue a system-wide upgrade. Any money spent would be towards the end goal. So it's not like we're going to spend money now and then replace the same things. They'll all be in the queue of things that needed to be replaced. But we have repeaters that aren't climate controlled. We have very old repeater equipment. We have a whole bunch of things that need to be tackled probably in the short term to keep everything stable and working. And then, like I said, design a system-wide refresh. Pickleball and the recreation plan. So the majority of this money is recreation plan money. So it's for park plans, park playground plans and inventory. So it's a roadmap for how we're going to replace and modernize amenities in the already existing parks. And then pickleball money is a lesser amount of that that would be used mainly for resurfacing the Ferry Street location and maybe some other minor purchases. And that would be at the discretion of the rec commission, how they want to divvy that up. Economic development, this is part of our local rapid recovery plan, LRRP. And there's a kind of an a la carte menu that is in the capital plan that planning will take and do as much. So it'll be probably facade management or facade grants. We're trying to figure out public Wi-Fi. That has a whole different set of challenges with it. And so we've got a lot of kind of cool things. So just looking to kind of, again, create that a la carte approach there. And then sidewalks, I put here at the discretion of the DPW director. In our meeting, Paul had pretty good ideas of where we'd get the most bang for our buck as far as, pedestrian areas that are in need of sidewalks. And he had just noted that, our Milford Road project is about a mile of sidewalks, and that was about $800,000. So, it's likely that this would get us somewhere short of that proverbial 1 mile neighborhood. And lastly, we're working on that plan to bring to the select board to utilize the remaining funds for a mental health program. And the look of that is to be determined. We are looking at models from a number of different communities and trying to see if there's something that would be a fit for us here. And I think that is it for the brief presentation.
Very nice. Thank you. Am I breaking up?
Just minorly. I think you'll probably smooth out.
Okay.
Nothing to base that on.
Okay. Thank you for that presentation. And thank you for the ARPA committee for all that work. I think you guys now hold the record. Last night, your meeting was 5 minutes long, so that is commendable. Does the board have any other questions or comments or concerns about the recommendations? None. Okay. So everybody's happy. If that's the case, I can take a motion to approve this as presented.
I move the board vote to approve the ARPA committee's recommendations for expenditure.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by roll call. Andy?
Jefferson, aye.
Ray? I think he said aye. Anne-Marie?
Foley, aye.
Roy, aye. Declared the motion carried. Okay, so that's it. And there are any select board reports? Okay, town administrator report. Correspondence, I did receive some feedback that there was correspondence from a previous packet by Mr. Reichlich, and he would like to have that read into the record. I do see him in attendance. If we want to promote him to read his own letter, I think that that is fine.
Right.
Mr. Freischlag, you hear us?
Yep. Bill is able to talk. He just needs to unmute.
Madam Chairwoman, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. It's Bill Richlick, 90 Weston Street, North Grafton, Mass. Appreciate your time, and here in my letter. This was sent to the members of the Select Board on June 22nd at 1:34 p.m. And I wrote to the Select Board. I met with the Grafton Chief on Friday, June 17th, in regards to noise and how it is handled by the PD. He informed me that Grafton has no noise ordinance and there is not much he can do, although he has expressed the town really needs to adopt regulations. After speaking to the chief, I was totally surprised that the Select Board has never checked to see if any complaints were called in, not once. The chief said going forward, all complaints would be forwarded to the board. On Friday, June 10th, music was one of the loudest we had encountered to date, with no noise abatement and a crowd exceeding 300 people. On Friday, June 17th, music was full volume loud with no noise abatement. The noise level was an insult to the neighbors and to the restrictions the board put on their temporary permit. Again, crowds of 300 plus. The board said they would have them back in mid-July or sooner if there were complaints. That Friday evening, Andy Jefferson was parked in my son's driveway for about 10 minutes. He witnessed the unabated volume of music. He then left and drove to Holden Farms. I'm not sure where it went from there. My position remains the same. This is an R40 zone and entertainment is not permitted use. This issue, I believe, should have been referred to the ZBA, as that is the only path to relief from the zoning laws of the town of Grafton. Whereas the town of Grafton has no noise ordinance, the state of Mass does, and I offered the following two links for your reference. One was an example of surrounding towns that have adopted noise ordinances, and one is the noise ordinance from Mass DEP. I don't know if you've looked at them. I have Mass DEP's noise ordinance. They measure it at the property line and the tolerance is 0 beyond the property line. Madam Chairwoman, I'd also like to add, this past Saturday night, we had a family affair at my son's house. We had it inside because the noise was too loud to have it outside. My wife and I went home. My daughter-in-law walked her parents, her mother, and brothers and sisters out at 8:30. The noise was still blaring loud. She was taking videos and pictures, which she will present to the board. At that time, she was verbally abused by Tyler Holden. This is escalating. I've contacted other members of boards in this town. This is wrong. Andy, I'd like to ask you what discussion you had with the other members after witnessing the volume of music.
So Mr. Ishak, I'm just going to put a pause on this right now. All that was on the agenda tonight was for you to discuss your correspondence. We do not have an agenda item to fully get into conversations about the music license at Holden Farms, but I can put that on an upcoming agenda if you'd like to discuss it further and allow board members to prepare properly.
Well, don't you think it's time you started holding them a little bit accountable for the restrictions you put on them? Because you haven't to date. I thank you for your time. I don't want to get into a confrontation. If this isn't proper, I apologize. My complaint has been heard.
Thank you, and we'll try to get it on a future agenda to keep finding the best compromise for everybody. Okay, so that was the only correspondence for tonight. No resignations. We do have public comment if anybody's here for public comment. And quick show. I do not see any hands. William, do you see any hands?
I do not.
Okay, so there are no meeting minutes. And Andy, do you have a hand? Your hand counts.
I have one question. So when when we're presented with materials tonight, like we were for the ARPA committee and whatnot, things that haven't made it into the packet ahead of time, is there a process for either adding them retroactively or possibly adding them as attachments to the minutes moving forward?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you have more, Colleen? You talked. The short answer, Andy, is yes. So we do that in most cases if it wasn't in the packet. However, we are working as part of our new website refresh. I think we're going to have a new look at how that happens, which I think will be much more easy for the public to navigate any of the materials that were used for the beat.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Okay. And if that's it, I can take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Andy,
Jefferson, aye.
Ray,
Need I?
Emery,
Holy eye.
Roy, I declare motion carried. Have a good night, everybody.